I'm Western Toilet. A rewards plan only works if you're motivated by stuff. But I am. Do you reach a point when you have enough stuff? I only have 2 feet. I can't possibly wear that many sneakers. There's not an infinite amount of books, but there's enough where I confidently feel that I wouldn't be able to buy all of the ones that I want. Gotta catch them all. Completeness is a weird concept, because there's a feeling of when you're done, what's left? Old man sad. But maybe chairs. But again, you can only sit in so many chairs. A home coated in lazy boys. They all have to recline in coordination or else you're screwed. Parakeets are not great. Again, it's a volume problem, figuratively and literally. You really only need 1 or 2. How are you going to care about more? Never mind the food bill. The ideal amount of most things is a few. Except for media runs more towards all of it. Fill your time with books, music, movies, or else you'll have to think about death. You can repeat music. I like to repeat books and movies too. I want to be surprised, but not too surprised. Quality matters, but it doesn't have to. Minimum viable product has become the standard, which is frustrating. I'm a maximally viable consumer. Don't eat me. Consumption is a creepy word. It's meant as a criticism. But then people were like, yeah, I'll have all the food, all the books, all the wine. Let's face it, it's not books anymore, which are virtuous now. But in the 1700s, there was a fear that young women were losing their minds to these newfangled novels. It's hard to imagine in 300 years, we'll be moralizing the death of TikTok. Zeno's paradox and all. But at what point are we just injecting drugs into our bloodstream for constant distraction? Assuming there'll still be humanity in 300 years. Old man sad. I'm Western Toilet. Not all time has to be productive. The non-productive life is a radical act in defiance of capital and power. I've always thought that. It's not laziness, it's a statement. Flowers don't have to work, they just have to die. That's a truth for all things. Things that are alive anyway. More things might be alive than we thought previously. As we look closer at the processes around us, they complexify. Is the act of looking causing the complexity? That's a very age of the gentleman scholar idea. The processes happen regardless. Does simulation theory hold water if we discover that it's not possible to recreate life and thinking digitally? It takes so many resources to copy these processes badly. But maybe we'll discover that biologically is already the most efficient way to do these things. Machines add ease to our daily lives. They don't compete, but tell that to the Luddites. You can't replace labor with machines until labor isn't tied to making a living. That's the fear that the robots are gonna make a living and I can't feed my family. That's conflating 2 ideas. The threat of poverty is more real and pressing than the threat of zombies. But the latter is more exciting to make movies about. Hi, I'm Western Toilet. Are we going to talk about time again? It's a lot of words for a concept that may or may not exist. 20 days seems like a long time, but it feels like forever. Can you bear a thing for 6 months? Even 1 month is too long to do something you don't want to do. That's why you have to find something enjoyable about it. Then life. There you have it. 60 days does seem like a lot. So where's the changeover? Which grain of sand is the tipping point? When is the man bald? Balding is an ancient paradox. Because even back when they had nothing, they still had that to work with, and we still have it today. Human existence is the continuity. Even if we can't relate to a joke about a dog going into a bar in ancient Sumerian. We don't have tech that'll record things forever. In fact, our newest technology decays the fastest. To preserve knowledge, it needs to be in active use. If all the hard drives fail at Columbia Records, all the music from the 90s is lost.
unless people remember how to sing it. For more recent history, like the shit people wrote on the internet today, it's in even more peril. If the server goes down, or if the people running the servers think that hosting your thoughts is no longer profitable, your thoughts will no longer be available to us. Information wants to be free. That was the promise of the internet. Digital isn't really free, and it isn't really an escape from the physical. This is today's argument why simulation theory is improbable. If they've done it once, they've done it a million times, but they've also turned it off a million times. And no one's turning off this, unless turning off manifests as global warming. Then it's time to be afraid. Hey, I'm Western Toilet. If a steampunk world came true, it'd be awfully loud. The world is pretty loud as it is. But the clatter of metal on metal of our gear-driven robots is almost too loud. Also, it'd be hard to take such a creature seriously, but that might be built into the aesthetics of steampunk. But you can't just quietly listen to someone who rattles when they walk. Air is also quite loud. Pneumatic pistons make an awful racket, but it inspires less of an eye-roll reaction. Are the Boston Dynamics dogs loud when they move? Make stealth hard, which is a good thing if they're trying to mount guns on them, like a cat with a bell. What if that was the deal? We could only have weapons of war if they have some built-in flaw that gave your foe a fighting chance. Very fairy tale logic. We write that way because we like that morality. Things should be fair. If one side is too powered, it takes away the narrative tension. You also have a bully, and no one likes a bully, unless you are a bully. The other acceptable narrative handicap, it's when it hurts the overpowered hero to use that power. In bad writing, this turns into it makes him sad to use this power. So we'll just have to trust that angst will protect the people from a man with infinite strength. Not a good system. But that's an argument that many make who are seeking too much power. It's important for me to have this, but I won't use it, I promise. If you intend to have without using, it's all the same if you don't have, isn't it? These stories and myths reflect back who we are and who we want to be. Like these guys. Only a select few want to be goggle-wearing nerds, riding about in unstable, steam-powered dirigibles. So, we're okay there. At least, it won't be loud. Oh hey, I'm Western Toilet. Despite all the power that humanity has amassed, the weather remains out of our control. We can't even reliably predict it. We just have some pretty good guesses as to what might happen. My phone doesn't even really do it that well. It's often wrong about what's happening right now, making looking out the window a more reliable system than this expensive collection of rare earth metals that I need to have on me at all times. That's harsh on technology. It has other things that it does well. It sets a hell of an accurate timer. That chicken is done. Weather specifically is just complicated. It's not just the whole Earth system, it's our interface with the solar system, which in a zoomed out view, we know pretty well. We can know where the Earth and the Sun and everything else in between can be on a given date pretty reliably. One thing about space, it's pretty empty, so there's not that many moving parts to keep track of. Space junk aside. But the sun is a miasma, in the updated words of They Might Be Giants, of incandescent plasma. The updated song isn't nearly as catchy as the original, even if it is more correct. A lie can get around the world before the truth even gets a chance to get its boots on. In this case, it's not a lie, but a mistake. I don't imagine that They Might Be Giants has a huge motivation to sow scientific untruths on the nature of the sun. To what end? Should they never have taken on science to begin with? No! Science belongs to everyone. It's not the John's fault if everyone looks to the sandal rather than relying on their own critical dialogue. But anyway, the sun has a lot going on. And despite how far away it has a lot of influence on what directly happens to you, weather-wise and sunburn-wise as well. Wear your sunscreen. It's probably why shooting fertilizer into clouds is only randomly effective. Hey there, I'm Western Toilet. So much of life is obligations, and we think being rich will remove our obligation. But according to the TV stories anyway, the rich are even more miserable. I think that's propaganda so that people will be fine with being poor. You may not have much, Tiny Tim, but you're happy and you're a good person. No, you cannot have a disability subsidy. That would ruin you. You wouldn't want to take a handout now, would you? Bootstraps, my boy. But then does Scrooge run around giving away all of his money at the end? Or was that just a fever dream? Dreams feel so real to your brain, like it's a real memory of the time you crossed the Arctic Circle on your way to work. Some of it you're actually walking like an actual map. Like in an old movie when they effectively want to show the distance traveled. But no, I think Scrooge just went to dinner at the Cratchit House. How beneficent of him. Dickens was a great champion of the poor, daring to depict that life sympathetically. Gasp! Writing his poor characters as if they were even real people. But his actual story feels like fiction these days. A writer with money. Must have been a Nepo baby. It's not great if we have to rely on Nepo babies for the arts. And it's doubly not great if we have to rely on rich dinner guests for a change of heart. If you haven't guessed already, this is socialist propaganda. These videos steal time from the rich and redistribute it to the poor. I'm the Robin Hood of philosophy. If you're watching this with no money, your check is in the mail. I also control the post office in this scenario? I don't know, I'm not made of stamps.com. It's a shame because stamp glue is delicious. It's a conspiracy that we don't use real mail anymore. It's a shame because now all the postmen and women are out of work. Postwomen? Nobody says that. Mail carriers. Cliff Clavin taught me that on Cheers. But now, he doesn't even have to leave the bar. He can just email with Ma fun facts about Charles Dickens. He had his wife committed for insanity when he got bored of her. Dickens, not Cliff. Cliff didn't have a wife. That fact is not fun, but it is true, I think. More true than an ending to A Christmas Carol, where Scrooge throws cash off his balcony because he's sad because no one came to his funeral. Would that we were all motivated to do good because we were worried that our funeral wouldn't be a good enough party. I'm left to the toilet. Math. Did we discover it or did we invent it? Not me, I mean, I didn't do anything. But I reap the rewards daily. Just like living on this round earth means I can take an airplane around the world and enjoy day or night. The existence of math means I can enjoy mathematical things, like replicable recipes with a consistent amount of ingredients and an iPad that can do all of its iPad-y things. Did anyone actually buy an Apple Vision? Are wearables a thing that we actually want, or does it just look cool in a comic book? Some people are actually excited about merging with machines, and they write very loud books about it. But I'm not convinced the people are actually clamoring for a Jarvis. Maybe it's an American thing, but I know several people who get squicked out by the idea of other people doing their laundry. Although, we're pretty quick to give over our personal facts to anyone who asks, online anyway. Maybe it's because we don't wear our facts. It's just who we are. It's no big deal. I resent when Siri wants to guess what app I want to open based on my time and location. You don't know me. Also, she set reading goals for me, which I think is rather presumptuous. It makes me worried she's going to do something rash when she finds out that I still read paper books, whose pages she can't count. But anyway, that's all annoying enough on a tablet. I don't want to optimize nag floating in the corner of my eye. Maybe you do. I don't know you, but I'd really like to be left alone. The tone technology is striking, is more a hectoring authority figure than personal assistant. I'm not some monster who refuses to say thank you to Siri, but I'm not fooling myself that that female voice represents anything but 5,000 lines of code. I just resent the intrusion. I'm certainly not going to wear it on my face. Anyone who's had to wear glasses for vision correction, am I hotter without them? I guess there's the revenge of the nerds fantasy of reclaiming the glasses as a $5,000 pair of must-have items. You all laughed and all that. I just don't think it'll catch on. But what's going to catch on is you subscribing and you liking and you telling your friends. You're going to do it now, you're going to do it hard, you're going to do it fast, you're going to do it amazing. I am Western Toilet. Why is it that knowing more has made the world worse? And is the world worse? Our current most popular mode of communication is social media communication. These modes don't encourage listening or understanding. They encourage only reacting. Interaction is prized, but there's no real way to indicate listening. The heart, the thumbs up, the likes, these are literally reactions. You don't need to have heard or digested anything to press those buttons.
Like and subscribe.
It's a reflex to say and a reflex to do. But subscribing isn't communication between people. It's a way you get magazines. Remember magazines? I am not a magazine. I think about the stories I want to tell, but I don't have to. No gatekeepers is a thing that works both ways. No one is silenced, but there's no concurrent responsibility to be truthful or interesting. Just shocking. As you sell me a tea that'll make me shit myself thinner. You move the bodies, but you didn't move the graves. Anyway, we're free to do what we want any old time. And pointing out that's what babies desire, that's anti-free speech, so I won't do that. But is just saying any old thing that we were provoked into feeling in the moment really the thing that we want? In an argument with a friend, in the heat of the moment, it's easy to say things you regret. So I hear. I never say things to friends, so I don't know. But I didn't mean it. I was just angry. That's a thing that happens person to person. But once you've shouted something into the void that is the internet, there's no takebacks, only 1,000 talkbacks, and a notes apology that doesn't mean anything. Publishing a thing gives it real weight, and not every thought can support the weight. The stupid quip that you mutter to a friend at a bar, that's just banter. But write it in the comments, and now you've published a commentary. So it's our fault. We believe everything we read, and we shouldn't. But you can't go around believing nothing, can you? Nihilism is only an option because it has a name. The big power that Adam was given was naming all of the things and the animals. And then Eve ate an apple, and it all went to hell. This is not a good system of government, you watery tart. I'm Western Toilet. The bicycle changed the world because all of a sudden you didn't have to marry someone in your home village or to get shipped off to foreign lands to live as the new one. Movement is good and choice is good. Would we all stay home if it wasn't for vehicles? I would. That's okay. For balance, we need some people who stay home. Not everyone can leave, or else you just have a bunch of people hot desking their way through life. Stability is important too. It's the balance, that's what we need. We want to challenge our ideas, but preserve the old ways that are still good. Like old comic book guys throwing away their drafting tables for digital drawing tools. At the same time, younger artists rediscover the artistry of drawing by hand. People who insist on shooting only film are insufferable. There's more craft to knowing how to get the shot right when there's only 24 on the roll. On the other hand, there's something to be said for having unlimited goes until you get it right. It's a conundrum. When I can buy any track for 99 cents on the iTunes store, the actual music seems cheaper and more disposable than when I had to save my $14.99 for a CD, whose price was artificially driven up by collusion. Class action suits for the win. I estimate that in my lifetime I've made at least $26 in class action suits. It's the only recourse that consumers have got. But the ritual of actually putting on a physical piece of media, that signifies the time for listening to music is now, versus hooking up your phone's Bluetooth to whatever speaker is available. Music can be everywhere, so we tune it out. Also, everyone else's taste is the worst. Physical media is expensive, collusion notwithstanding. Film costs a lot, whereas your phone can store too many photos for you to meaningfully engage with. And a good 10% of those are misfires or shots of the inside of your bag. I barely have time to go back and look at those, let alone delete them. Who are we documenting all of this for? The aliens? Future civilizations? If we fall, our technology will be inaccessible. At least a record album, there's a chance that somebody might be able to figure out the mechanism. Tape a paper cone to a needle, stick that round thing on a spindle to make it turn. The shape suggests the function. It's kind of a miracle humans invented computers at all. Every process is controlled by a small firing or not of a node of electricity. That's binary. baby. And when these firings are coordinated in the right sequence, you've got solitaire right on your screen. Oh look, we're home. Hey, I'm Western Toilet. Don't let them aggregate you. Yes, there is power in numbers, and you by yourself have next to no power. But when you get lumped in, what are you saying? What are you being allowed to say? Think for yourself, make your own decisions, question authority. These are the cornerstones for the Institute of Free Thinkers. A or B is doom. Always choose Q. Keep them guessing. Q is the right choice because it's the only letter that requires another letter to come along with it. U is the bonus letter. And then you have two letters. ကိᵼIᒪOᔕOකිᵼ whenever you can. It's the power of critical thinking, but also neat solutions, solvable problems. These are modern inventions. It's a failing of education that we teach kids that there's right answers. I guess we have to assess them somehow. But do we? It appears that what that does is make everyone crave answers and be less tolerant of ambiguity, when that is the very skill that we need the most. Is the opposite of ambiguity ambiguity? This is almost impossible to say. If we can't think it, does it exist? Existence is all we have, and that's not easily categorizable. What makes a cat different from a dog? No one can really say. That whole taxonomy, devised by Linnaeus, almost entirely wrong. But he was so authoritative when he said it that we still teach it in biology class today. Of course, in some places, it's lucky we get to teach sciences at all. Am I right? See, now, here's a good example. How are there two teams regarding science? And their positions are, science is the only thing that matters. Science is the blasphemous lies of the devil. Both positions are boring, but both positions are voting blocks, so they get all the pie. If they keep trying to sell you fear, it's your job not to be afraid. Is an assumption of reasonableness our responsibility? Reason, that's what I have, and everyone else is sorely lacking. Why doesn't everyone just listen to me? Listen to me, don't listen to me. Listen to David Bowie. Oh, hey, I'm Western Toilet. We leave things on all the time now, without even thinking about it. Power consumption? Not my problem. Electric bill? I'll pay it. But it is a lot not to have to sit through a power-up screen. We're busy people. I've got TikToks to scroll. We'll sit and stare at the screen for hours at nothing. We don't have the patience to sit through the Apple logo blinking on and off, or whatever happens. Which, considering, have you tried turning it off and on again? Is the only tech solution there is. I should know better what that looks like. The long boot used to be a problem that computer designers wanted to solve. I guess they solved it by saying, just don't turn it off. And it is shorter than it used to be. Except at work. Am I right? At work, everything's worse. And it's just the facts. If it was fun, they would just call it fun. Do you know what I do for fun? Press buttons in a browser window to make numbers go up. It's a game, and it's super addictive. And it reminds me that most of life is filling it full of boring shit while we wait to die. At least card games have some kind of socialization built in. It's all just Skinner boxes, isn't it? Someone should make a project and call it that. Maybe they already have. It sounds like a parody SNL commercial if SNL was more nerdy and less fun. Joking about death? Some would say that's all we're joking about, all the time. But it takes a deft hand to not just bum everybody out. It's just easier to distract. Buttons, though, so satisfying to push. We need to feel like we're achieving something. But it's only the feeling that we need. The achievement itself doesn't have to be real. Our perception is king. And why not? I don't know you or your reality, but I'm intimately familiar with mine. Too bad I'm also sick of it. Hence Skinner Box. It's a new toy from Mattel, that the whole family will love.
Comes in 2 colors.
Cheese reward and the living dangerously avoid the shocks edition. We have such faith in punishment, even though positive rewards are shown to create better results in changing behavior long term. But if we're not hanging out long term, it's easier to make you fear me to do what I want.
Is that the idea? I don't know. I exist inside your screen.
Never interacting with anything, really.
Hit the like button. See the number go up.
Now you're a part of something.
Tell your friends.
Achievement! Life is worth living. Oh, hey, I'm Western Toilet. We need to be coordinated to get things done. The Earth is the biggest clock of them all. But some of us have internal clocks that are different. That woman who lived in the caves in Italy, her internal clock, it was all wrong. It's a necessary thing to see what would happen. But the conditions she lived in were completely artificial. There's no way that we humans need to live without the movement of the sun, unless something catastrophic happens, or space travel changes our relationship to the sun. Anyway, so it's good we know, but knowing, we pay no heed. We know that staring into a screen for hours at a time is no good for us, but we do it anyway, especially before bed. We don't have to accept nature as it is. Clothing, for example, is much more comfortable than being naked and exposed to the elements. Blankets might be the best thing ever invented, especially in the autumn. But somehow blankets aren't nearly as disruptive to our lives as our new pocket square. But of course, no one intentionally designed blankets to be as addictive as possible, dumping light into our eyes and triggering our amygdala with notifications and fear and the desire to be liked. You can turn off all the notifications for all of the apps that you have.
But then you won't get up-to-the-minute information on every bit of information that your phone's apps track. But that much information isn't useful. My mailroom app pings me every time a package I order makes any move.
Arrival at the dispatch center in Shenzhen. Ping! On the van. Ping! Stuck in traffic. Ping! But there are only 2 pieces of information that I need with any urgency. I've ordered it, and it's here. If something goes wrong, it's nice to be able to troubleshoot. But I don't need the constant dispatches. Even if I ran a shipping company, I wouldn't need to be interrupted all day with that kind of detail. I'd delegate those responsibilities, at the very least. If I had a PA that interrupted me that much, I'd tell him to cool it. Use your judgment. I guess that's what the AI is trying to do. But I can't fire the AI if it doesn't do the job to my liking. Remember how many assistants Murphy Brown went through? Would AI have solved her problems? Or would she just have a hole in her life because there were no more subordinates to terrorize? Murphy Brown was a tyrant. Make no mistake.
Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus! Oh my God!
It's like 9/11.
Look at me, I'm Western Toilet. It's always time to go in this fast-paced society, but when is it time to be? That's a question you're gonna have to ask for yourself. No one else is interested in you being because that's not something they can sell to advertisers. But you don't actually need advertising. Surprise, it's okay to exist without knowing about all of the products. Targeted advertising seems like something innocuous. It'll help you know about products relevant to you. That's how they spin it. Like they're doing you a favor by examining every micro detail of your life.
Remember, if a given product is free to you to use, there's every possibility that you're the product.
When kids are thought of as digital natives, are they aware of that? Or is it so true they never see it? How's the water today? What the hell is water? We're swimming in our own commodification. And all it's doing for us is getting us to buy more things. A life without things is hardly a life. I don't think conformity was the intended goal. Everyone wears deodorant and has a phone, so you better too. But it is a happy byproduct. Certain questions, when you ask them, they make you seem like a weirdo. And if it's in somebody's best interest that you don't ask that question because it cuts into their profit, you can easily be spun into a dangerous weirdo because there better be money in it. Why are cars such a given? All the world's a parking lot. And yet you're not a functional grown-up without your own tank? That's absurd. I don't need to waste my limited resources on a rolling fast food wrapper collection machine. I can put my fast food wrappers wherever I like. That's my right as a human. Good men and women died so I don't have to care. And if I do care, well then I'm the problem. Shut up and eat your hamburger. But what if I don't eat meat? What if I'm an attention-seeking diva? Actually, there has been a lot of progress on that front. It used to be inconvenient to the point of being ostracized that a person was a vegetarian. I'm making my dietary choices purely for your inconvenience. But enough people had enough reasons that were acceptable that now it's still eye-rolling, but people do ask, expecting, yes, I am a vegetarian to be a normal enough answer. And the King Cullen even carries oat milk. You need a critical mass because if there's enough of you, you can force a new normal. Of course, it helps if you can rally around a product like Impossible Meat, or however the fuck you pronounce corn. Even if tofu has already existed for decades. Oh shit! I'll drive you crazy. I'm Western Toilet. Is the AI going to think of new ideas? Is that what we want it for? Is there actually a goal for it in the minds of its human makers? In its own simulation of a mind? Did the useful tools that we have now, did their makers have a specific goal in making them? However a hammer was invented, and by whom, I doubt somebody was like, what does this do? Let's swing it around and find out. No, there was just a specific need to generate force from one's own arm. So a lever with a metal head was invented. Discovered? Was there an hammer on a platonic plane, one level removed from us, and someone with insight was able to pluck it from that realm into our own? And then humanity was gifted with the ability to drive objects harder into other objects. That's crazy, and presupposes that everything that's happened in scientific history is preordained and supposed to happen. There is no God of hammers. There is an inventive spirit and human creativity. So there's a clear process for, hey, there's a problem, let's solve it.
Get on the mic and let the earth resolve it.
Or whatever. Not knowing what a thing is for isn't necessarily a worse way to develop new ideas. That's art, for the hammer god's sake. But there's an awful lot that comes out of the tech world that's just like, is this anything? I think it's like people who tell you, I have a great idea for a movie. It's set in Croatia, and it's a musical. You can have it if you want to write it, but that's not the work. The idea is not the work. The thing that people can actually interact with is. It's why people don't actually write the movies themselves. Writing is hard. Finishing a thing is hard. But if you haven't figured out the implementation, you haven't finished it. Though the spirit of collaboration is a beautiful thing. Jack Dorsey threw Twitter at an unsuspecting South by Southwest and asked, is this anything? And a bunch of writers, comedians, and social justice warriors turned it into a playground that they lovingly called a trash fire, where occasionally bean dads were actually burned down to the ground. And then years later, another rich guy was like, I think freedom of speech means never hearing mean things about me specifically. Guys, I'm cool. And bought it out from under everyone and actually ruined the trash fire that was collaboratively made. So what's the incentive for the masses to collaborate with a profit-making entity? Don't give me a thing and ask, is this anything? It's not, and you know it's not. And for all the safeguards, you say it's imperative that your company follow. In this, the year of our hammer, 2024, I know you're going to abandon them as soon as they're not profitable. And one of the things you're not incentivized to safeguard is me and my ideas. Lucy, you can only pull the football away so many times, but Charlie Brown never walks away, does he? Hey, I'm Western Toilet. You don't have to be uncomfortable anymore, ever, if you have the money. Solved it. That's what's wrong with rich people. They don't know real struggle. The temperature's always correct, and there's always enough food. And there are so many systems where they can just cut the line. But what if they're important? Their time is more valuable. I don't think anybody's important. The opposite of the great man theory is anyone could have done it. Where is the point that the admin to run a system outweighs the cost of just giving everyone that service for free? Let's find out. These thoughts are my platform in an invisible campaign. Will anyone believe me? The fact that this is on video gives everything more weight. I imagine some entity reading all of my secret notebooks when I'm gone. What a gift to humanity. I don't think you're guaranteed that though, even in death, having an audience. And I have an audience when I'm alive. Everyone should. It's good for you. We all want attention from somewhere, even if we think we don't. Making people laugh is a different reward from making myself laugh. Not better, but different. Who will know it's true? No one. It's a trick question. Because in 2029, humanity will discover that nothing is true and will be liberated. We will all be free to just be with each other and take care of each other. Grilled cheese sandwiches for all. Because remember, cholesterol is not real either. Or it is, but it doesn't mean anything. Always tip your serving staff. They're working hard. I'm Western Toilet, and at Chongqing Punk, we make hits. Refilling pens is like the minimal amount of useful reuse that we can do. Like, is that plastic tube really what's putting us over the edge? It's that massive plastic that's really the problem here. Every little bit helps, but a drop in the bucket is the metaphor we use. When the petrochemical industry is flooding the whole world with its product and actively torpedoing any attempts to make changes to the model. We tried nothing and it didn't help. Because the status quo works for a lot of powerful people. I'm not powerful, so I'm not grasping onto the present, resisting any and all change. The problem is we don't listen to people who have anything to say. We're easily distracted by the loudest crazies in the room, who are shouting about who is in what bathroom. Who cares? I'm in here. Don't come in. It's fine. Maybe we should just make the world a series of single occupancy cubicles, and no one will have to be bothered with anyone else's lifestyle choices. It's a lonely life, but no worse than we deserve. No one's proposed that before, I'll tell you what. And the cubicles can be made of plastic if that's what needs to happen. And then when we die, we can just call it our coffin. Seal the door and change the sign out front to RIP. Launch it into space, I don't care. Launch it into space is a solution we don't use often enough. The sun isn't impossibly far away like those other stars. And yet, only Superman has used it as a garbage disposal system. What would be the harm if we launched thousands of pounds of plastic into the sun? That's how much plastic we have, right? 1,000 pounds? That's more than my cat weighs. I don't have a cat, so don't launch into the sun. But no, right? We're not going to throw off the ecosystem of the sun after we've thrown off the balance of nature here on Earth. Go to Mars, whatever. It can't happen again. That we've stripped the place that we live in of all of its natural resources and made it a much worse place. Better to do it in a place you don't live. But don't you dare stop consuming. It's the only thing we have. And refill your pens. It's good for the Earth. Next thing you're going to tell me all this paper I'm writing on would be better as trees. But I can't write on trees. It's too many splinters. Why aren't we making plastic paper? Probably because nobody but me is writing on paper anymore. A young person recently told me that notebooks are too expensive. He hasn't foregone cell phones, computers, or other gadgets. But notebooks are too expensive? This is Kids Today. Whoa, hey, it's Western Toilet. The internet's for beginners, and we're all the richer for it. Teach yourself Chinese to a non-useful level, and then by the power vested in me by nobody at all, you have the right to open your own language school. I've been doing yoga for 30 days. Who wants to hear my every thought on it? Verdict? Not enough free weights. It's clearly a boon that all knowledge wants to be free and accessible to all. But this precise implementation means that nobody with any skill or training can make any kind of living by propagating these skills. While an entire army of Johnny-come-latelys can give you the secrets to any trade in a precisely 10-minute video, just sit through this ad for, I don't know, the Global Times? What do they do? It's probably fine. I love the Globe. And we all have time. We have endless time to pick up our newest hobby that will become our whole personality for the next 18 months, only to give it up when it requires real effort. But you don't have to progress with something to keep talking about it. Has anyone seen my sourdough starter? Maybe it finally grew legs and walked away. I'm a real-life Dr. Frankenstein, all thanks to the internet. You think just anybody can do this? Nobody's funny anymore. Oh, hey, I'm Western Toilet. It's the age of the digital, and that's an amazing thing. Where your car once had a mechanical interface, it now has a beautiful tablet. Who needs an odometer when Siri can tell you where the nearest Kate Jewelers is? The problem is that digital isn't very good. I mean, sure, it's changed the world and means you can keep in touch with anyone who's even walked by your high school. You can teach yourself Chinese and find yourself any recipe. It's changed our lives. It also stops working when developers stop updating it and then leaks our personal information like crazy. Like doors are a security risk because anyone motivated enough with an axe could force their way in. But you're not under attack by a million Macedonian hackers every day because they'd actually have to come to your house. Somehow physical keeps us safe in a way that digital currently does not. And developers seem unconcerned. Use ad blockers, privacy blockers, or other Firefox extensions. And the fun parts of the internet stop working as well. So you'll have to click trust site. But that's the wolf. It's not even wearing grandma's pajamas. It just has 10,000 comments on Kristen Bell's face that you gotta read. Increasingly, the response to security and privacy concerns is, well, don't use it then. Which is unacceptable. Make better products. Stop letting my passwords be so easily breachable then. It might get better, but it definitely won't if we, the consumer, just accept this as the way that it has to be. Cars didn't have seatbelts until that old stick-in-the-mud Ralph Nader said, preventable deaths should be prevented. When cell phones first came out, they were ridiculously expensive. And the only conversation you could have was, can you hear me now? A cell phone company even made a commercial out of that phrase. A friend of mine's cousin was the star of those commercials. They weren't close. So I guess there's a period of development where we all spend money on things that are new, but not very good. The Model T was a terrible car. Smelled much worse than horses, belching up all that gas. But look at us now, beholden to all of those steel horses. Two-factor authentication is a pain in the ass. They say passkeys are the future. I say it's about time. Passkeys are gonna save us all. I don't know what a passkey is. Hey, I'm Western Toilet. The air is for everyone. We all breathe it, even animals. You're breathing animal breath right now. Gross. But you're also breathing all the gross stuff that humans have dumped into the air since always. I've spent too much of my life thinking about PM 2.5s, and here we are, and here they are. They get stuck in your lungs and never leave. Pollinizers, probably pushing around all the other molecules that are already inside my lungs. Polluting the atmosphere and just generally making a bad scene, man. It's no fun at the party when somebody eats all the chips. Kids' cartoons in the 80s always depicted polluters as physically dirty, like walking around with some kind of nuclear ooze on their shirts. Fat too, because that's how we knew who was sloppy back then. It is sloppy though to think that the natural resources that exist with no owner are yours for the taking. If nobody minds, I'm just gonna dump all this toxic sludge into this river over here. Yeah, sure, nobody minds. Let me get a bite of that sandwich, it looks good. Never mind, your fingers are covered with nuclear ooze. Feel free to put that anywhere also. Cultures that practice stewardship of nature just got slaughtered. The dilemma is, how does pacifism stand a chance against aggression? You can't just kill them. Hey, we don't do that here. It's too late, they didn't have gentle parents. Their parents taught them to take. And if you don't take, you're a chump. So take that. It is a problem that still needs solving, even if it's depressing. You can't just tell the climate this is too much. It's not fair to expect this from me. Might not be fair, but it's bigger than you. I mean, maybe you'll be fine when the sea level rises. The crops you like won't be endangered. Watch out though, chocolate is on the list of things that might be endangered when global temperatures rise. And I gotta have my chocolate. So you can't just opt out. Not like COVID when you got tired of quarantine, so you just stopped. It's going to happen to you, regardless of how you feel. If you don't like chocolate though, do what you like. It's probably not going to affect you. Take up smoking. Burn trash in your yard. You're fine, and anyone who complains is trampling on your rights. Only idiots want things like clean air. Hey, it's me, Capitalist Toilet. Have you ever tried to hit undo on something physical? Like you move your couch across the living room, but then decided it was better where it was. And then you're almost affronted that you have to carry it back yourself. Isn't this cached in some kind of cosmic memory? When someone figures that out, it's gonna change the world. And that is the plot of The Matrix. Good movie, a lot of fine knitwear. We should all be wearing more chunky knits. It's the outfit of the resistance in a lot of movies. Because if you think about it, mass textile production is the basis for modern society. Those tight cotton weaves, not possible when the women of the village were spinning thread by hand. And don't even get me started on the slave trade. But imagine getting out of the shower and having to drip dry. Barbaric. You'd get nothing done with such a start to the day. But if you dismantle the entire system, man, say goodbye to towels and sheets. Scratchy blankets for you, and asthma as you put another log on the fire to keep warm. The old ways are horrid ways. The only way that homesteading is comfortable is if you have a lot of resources. Why do you think they're all selling all that gold? What's gold gonna do for you in the apocalypse? More than crypto, I guess, but not much more. You need to invest in real things, like antibiotics and heirloom tomato seeds, and a loom. And a person to work that loom day and night, because textile production is no joke. That used to be something whole villages of women would do. But then who will make the dinner? The men? That's how hot dog night was invented. Easy to cook, no mess to clean up. But hot dogs give you cancer. Did you stockpile any chemotherapy drugs? Or a doctor who knows how to administer them without killing you? Maybe it's best if we don't dismantle society and begin again with me and mine just taking care of me and mine. You may feel like you can do it all with your compost toilet, but do you know the early warning signs of cholera? I don't. All I know is they'll take away your sweet stuffed rabbit and throw it on the fire. And then you'll have to move back to England from India. And a rich boy with a limp will help you plant a garden. Have you ever tried to live off crops that you planted yourself? You're gonna end up with far too many tomatoes, a shit ton of lettuce, and the fruit won't come in for years. Congratulations, I'm Western Toilet.
We live in a world governed by tens.
But why? If we were born Simpson-like with 4 fingers on each hand, would base 8 be our governing principle? There's nothing inherently natural about tens. In fact, we're surrounded by systems that take a different number as their basis. Binary and hexadecimal, for example, allow us to talk to computers. In fact, binary seems like the most obvious of them all. How much more simple can you get than on or off? And despite its simplicity in design, you can still use it to express incredible amounts of complexity. But saying that I just celebrated my 100101110101110 birthday sounds like less of a milestone than it's been 2,000 days since my last cigarette. We like time in evenly divisible chunks. Even if they're arbitrary, 2 weeks is at least related to the movement of the sun and the earth, but 10 business days seems neater. Even if work, weekends, and turnaround time are all relatively recent human inventions. Prime numbers are only for keeping secrets. It's either a party trick or a cryptography system that you know the bigger ones. Guys, we made up numbers and then we couldn't figure out everything about them. P or NP? Nobody knows. Are we just playing an elaborate game with ourselves? Are we cheating entropy by imposing a narrative on all of this chaos? Europe makes fun of America for our resistance to the metric system. But the royal kilogram is just some king's idea for how much a liter of water weighed or some shit. And a liter is just the volume of atoms it takes to definitively kill a cat in a box. In case I seem like some guy who didn't get you a birthday present, because a year is just a somewhat inaccurate measurement of how long it takes the Earth to go around the sun. I am. Why would I get you a present? Here, take some cash. Get something you like for once. Get 10 of them. Get 2,000 of them. I don't care, just don't get 8. It's significant that we have 10 fingers because we do. If we had 6, that'd be significant too. If spiders ruled the world, well, we'd be in trouble. But we wouldn't, because there's only a small proportion of them that are poisonous, and most of them don't go after humans. And they also eat small bugs and other things that are annoying. Some of them even eat small rodents. What if we found out the dolphins really were in charge all along? What do they have 10 of? 10 friends? 2,000 friends. 2,000 friends would be really nice. 3,000? 4? You don't have to get it. I'm Western Toilet. Watch out for people who want to change your habits. The only one with the agenda of considering your needs is you. Decide. Take action. or decide not to take action. Watching TV all day is a perfectly cromulent choice. English is a great language because it's so mutable. Say a word enough and it's real. Take a word, make it mean something else, also real. Although you may face more challenge in that regard, there are still people railing against the split infinitive for God's sake. This isn't Latin. Nothing is these days. Language is for expressing yourself, and what doesn't serve you, you should leave behind. We focus far too much on rules, so much so that some people believe that rules are the point, and some of those people are teachers, so the system perpetuates. But what do you get out of being rigid about language? A bunch of essays that are so tediously the same that you get what you deserve. If your students are boring, well, that's on you. Never be boring. That's my only rule. And I break it all the time. Should I go out tonight? I got TV. TV isn't boring if you're the one who's watching. It's stimulating, it's exciting, and my brain is dazzled by all the flashing lights. In the future, someone will figure out how to mesmerize people with just a strobe. And the youth will sit entranced, and the adults will sit and complain. Back in my day, we had real entertainment. TikToks by the hundreds of thousands. Actual storytelling, not this drivel. We've been fearing for the illiteracy of the next generation since the cuneiform tablet. And we were right. Who could read cuneiform anymore? It's a shame and a loss that culture is a living thing. We keep inventing more of it and discarding the old. But I don't want to be discarded. That's right. You've read my implications correctly. Skibbity toilet is our own mortality looking us in the face and flushing it down. But does anybody want to be an 8-year-old again? I didn't want to be an 8-year-old the first time around. I was born a middle-aged man, and I'll die a middle-aged man. That's not a threat, by the way. I'm ageless, not suicidal. My secret? Blood transfusions from kindergartners. Silicon Valley was right. Silicon Valley is always right. Somebody should give Mike Judge another show, because I'm running out of TV to watch. Some of it's quite bad, you know. I'm Western Toilet, and I like things too. The end of the year is a time for lists, because it's too cold and we're too depressed to write real stories. Unless you live in Australia, then it's hot and you're a maniac. But it's a time to weigh in on funniest fails, fastest destruction to our future, and hottest uncles, or whatever people love to argue about. Arguably, music should bring us together. But then why is the conversation so boring? I know exactly who all these so-called pop stars are, and I don't care about any of them. And yet we drone on and on about some corporation that made a deal with some other corporations to still not pay the artists that has somehow come to dominate our earways. Sorry, I got lost in what I was upset about for a moment. I don't like it that for the entire month of December, that the whole musical conversation becomes dominated by people sharing their list of surveilled consumption habits wrapped up in a cutesy social media slideshow. Do people use slides anymore? Like real deal printout photos and projector setups. There's gotta be some Bushwick enclave where that's the hot new return to authenticity. Is Bushwick still cool? And if it is it like 6 roommates and an indoor skate ramp cool? Or like $6 million apartment cool? And what were the top 10 most listened to songs in Bushwick this year? Sorted by annual income and car ownership. No reason, I'm just working on something. We need validation to know what we were listening to was cool. I know that they told you doing your own thing is cool, but that only works for a select few, born with so much charisma that they make anything cool. Like that one kid in high school who played soccer, formed in the musical, and won the physics trophy. Oh, Zach, you made it look so easy, and everyone liked you. But when I took up the solo tambourine, nobody noticed or cared. But we're social animals, so it's natural that we keep checking in with each other. Am I doing it right? Does this hat make me look the right amount of aloof? No, by the way. Hats are for dummies and baldies. True aloofies know that it's all about the belt. But feedback algorithms make it so the thing that keeps popping up more and more suddenly becomes the only thing that people can talk about. And then if you're not talking about it, you get left out. Except for Zach, of course. Rules don't apply there. Shine on with your Beijing-based noise rock collective, whose only instrument is a broken AC unit. I'm never gonna change. I'm Western Toilet. It's not all bad. It's not even nearly all bad. But the information that changes, the novel data that catches our eye, well, I'll say it. Change is bad. We don't want things to change because we don't know how they'll be. Even if we don't like how things are now, they are a known entity. How did we get here, though? That's the midlife crisis of it all. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. It's an easier narrative if we can just say that this all happened to us. No need to take responsibility for the choices that we've made. That's the other curse of middle age, the intense belief that the youth of today are lacking and that no one knows what personal responsibility is. Well, I'll tell you, the kids today are lacking, but no more so than every kid has ever lacked. They're kids. Their job is all potential, and it's their prerogative not to live up to that. Never live up to your potential, because then what's left? Only potential fulfilled. Let's show you out to pasture, Granddad. Here, take a seat in this meadow, next to this cow. Hope you like grass. But humans can't digest grass. We don't have the stomachs for it. I think what we want is for everyone to get out of our way. And it's easy to discount those who are younger than us by claiming they're inferior. And those older, well, their time is done. And you can hasten this process by watching the wrong news. Both sides think the other side is being brainwashed, but only one side takes delight in cruelty. Ironically, they're the loudest and most wounded when the nerd side tries its hand at playground taunts. Don't do that. You're no good at being mean. But also it plays right into their playbook. I need a playbook, so I can dramatically rip it up and go off script. Look at me, I'm a maverick. Rules are for other people. You're a loose cannon, McLeod. Never mind that a police force full of loose cannons is just firing willy-nilly into the ground. Will-he-nil-he. Shakespeare came up with that, along with the rest of the English language. He stole all his stories from the Italians, but he single-handedly invented the English language. He invented it so hard that you can't even understand his plays when performed as written. Do you bite your thumb at me, good sirrah? Forsooth, I do bite my thumb, but it is not at thee. I'm Western Toilet, and I might not be for you. Does it matter if the art is bad if it's made by humans? Of course it does. This isn't some everyone gets a trophy t-ball game that's been ruining the youth for generations now. What's always wrong with these young? Why can't they be old? I think the problem is, though, the force is asking, why can't things be non-competitive sometimes and just fun? They just get trampled by those that want to win at all costs. It doesn't matter to them that you didn't put up a fight. They still won. The AI and art discourse tends to skip over that there's a large population that wants to make art, not even for a living, but just for the joy of making something for themselves. I bought this trunk at Target, but now it's a one-of-a-kind because I painted the cast of King of the Hill on it. Look, Luann's got her manger babies. I keep my puppets in it. Art doesn't have to be good. It doesn't owe that to you. It just has to be made. That's terrifying if you want to make art and you'd like it to be good. There's always the possibility that you're going to show your soul to the world and they're going to laugh at it. We teach in kindergarten not to do that. But kindergarten's only 1 year. It tends to lose out to all the others. Like t-ball? That's not the most elegant connection, but art. Sometimes it's about trying things, not succeeding. If you're happy with what you've done, then you've done it right. It's an easy enough lesson for children to grasp. But then we spend the rest of childhood beating it out of them. If you can't draw a monkey that doesn't look like a monstrous baby, then you don't deserve to draw at all. That's why that old art school ad had you draw a creepy turtle, to show you no one's good enough to draw. Quit your creating and get to work. We've got the AI to create our art monstrosities now, and they're so off-putting. Maybe it'll cure people of this desire to look at stuff once and for all. Close your eyes and let the sea of winning sweep you away. Are you surfing the waves of success, or are you drowning in it? That tells you all you need to know. And for God's sake, no one try to draw this metaphor. The last thing we need is to picture any of this. Are your eyes still closed? Close your eyes. There's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see anywhere. The AI will be around to harvest your eyes shortly. What does the AI need your eyes for? To make you a winner. Don't get cocky. I'm Western Toilet. When change is too slow, it can be imperceptible. When it's too fast, it can be traumatic. Even something nominally good, like the lottery. It seems to cause a lot of harm to become a millionaire overnight. You might as well be stoned to death. Am I right, Shirley Jackson? It was an enforcement of conformity, Jackson's the lottery. Or Fascism? In school, we talked about how those things were bad. The problem is there's also counter-messaging about sit down, shut up. Order is good, and it's not wrong. Has anyone ever tried to get free spirit creative types to attend a meeting? Not an easy thing. And the tenets of well-meaning ethical anarchism? Well, I love the idea of a human microphone, but it's easier to just use a real microphone. Listen to me, I'm the one speaking. Humans aren't birds. We don't have that thing in our head that tells us the flock is turning right. We do exhibit swarm-like behavior, but generally it's bad. It tends to be a mob, and I've never seen a mob build a public park. No. For that, you need a planning committee. Creation needs cooperation. I wish that was taught in school, rather than follow your heart. But do it quietly. And on this essay, shut up. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. A kindergarten teacher on TikTok said that. Perfection and order. We sacrifice too much to make these things happen. The magic happens in the disorder. We just need to get better at tolerating it. Do 16 impossible things before breakfast and then express yourself. Who cares? It's easy, and we'll love it. Or we'll hate it and you'll do another one tomorrow. Welcome to my TED Talk for Artists. If you want full access to the lecture, just toss $16.99 to the moon. We'll cover such topics as witchcraft, why it's legitimate for your practice to be a Wiccan in your 20s, obstructionism for pacifists. Those dirty dishes are not your job. Your job is wonder and more. It's hard to balance the needs of the many with the needs of the few or the one. And simple aphorisms sound satisfying, but end up benefiting the same people who always seem to benefit. So in the words of your first bumper sticker, question authority, but make sure you follow Robert's Rules of Order. I'm Western Toilet, and I'm already getting ready for Christmas 2025. It's a poor carpenter who blames his tools. But if a carpenter doesn't have any tools, what is he supposed to do? I know a carpenter who wanted everyone to have tools. Frank. He was a really generous guy who just liked woodworking so much. He wanted everyone to be able to do it. He had an after-school program where he mentored many of the local high school students. He did amazing work. Chairs, cabinets, you name it, as long as it's chairs and cabinets. I'm gonna say something that sounds old and cranky, so hold on to something. I don't like the way that holiday celebrations have stretched out so long that we're perpetually running for president. Holoflation, I call it. It wasn't like this when I was a boy. It just robs a little of the magic charm. The sales start for the next consumption fest, before the dishes have dried from the last one. Have you bought your Valentine's Day indulgences yet? Here's 60 things to drive her crazy. Number 1, rabies. But have no fear, I'm not complaints without solutions. What kind of selfish monster would do that? I come bearing answers. The solution is this. Everyone should move away from home to a culture that celebrates a different set of holidays, but due to globalism, is also beginning to celebrate other cultures' holidays. An exchange of sorts to cut the madness. This way, you'll get about 2 weeks of Christmas cheer, rather than the pizza place switching to an all carols format in mid-July. It's actually quite nice. The increased cultural sharing brought about by everybody uprooting and walking a mile in another culture's shoes will hasten holidayflation everywhere. But it will buy us another 10 years, I estimate, and it will also bring about world peace. Because in my experience, travel opens the mind. And no one ever went abroad and remained an entitled, ignorant idiot. It's truly magical. No ghosts needed. Although ghosts are welcome if you want them, we're all about inclusivity here. And if I've learned anything from watching The Sixth Sense, it's that, spoiler alert, ghosts just want a little bit of therapy, just like anybody else. We truly are a global village. Goodwill to men and presents to all. Including women, too. Whoa. Don't tune out. I'm Western Toilet. If you turn off all the notifications on your phone, you'll find it a lot less distracting. Of course, you missed all of your messages, but who wants to hear from people anyway? If you really need me, send me a letter. Care of the Woods. I don't want to live in the woods. Bears live in the woods. But they've agreed to collect my mail for me, so that's a good deal. We really should be making more deals with the bears. They're lovely people, and they're just smart enough to blunder their way into our kitchens. Hope you didn't eat all that honey. When preparing an offering for a bear, consider what you want from them. An act of revenge? that's going to require meat and lots of it. But if you just need them to pick up your dry cleaning, a small snack will do. They really like Drake's cakes. It reminds them of hanging out in the cafeteria in high school. Sure, they weren't popular, but they were well liked, and they had good friends. High school shouldn't be the best time of your life. You've barely even started, pardon the pun. Those who peaked in high school are doomed to become gym teachers. Not that there's anything wrong with being a gym teacher, if any of you are watching. No gym teachers are watching this channel. If you are, you're lying to yourself. Get a new job.
Okay.
The best life advice comes from a stranger saying arbitrary things to you. That pretty much is what tarot is, from what I understand. And as you see, none of this requires phone notifications. Random chance. That's what governs the most exciting of lives. If it's really important, you'll stumble upon a message in a bottle with that information inside. Never mind that you don't live by the ocean. You could run into Sting anywhere. That's one of his superpowers. Not every famous person has superpowers, just the almighty and truly famous. You can tell who they are because their other bandmates will eventually stop talking to them. Be difficult, become a penguin with a machete. That's the mark of true self-actualization. They want you to be easy. Put you on a shelf and ignore you while they wrangle the problem child. Of course, some of us do our best work while being ignored. So do not hit like and subscribe. Don't tell your friends. And definitely don't start a Discord where you spread the word of gentle chaos. Ignore genius. Too incoherent for his time. Rambling idiot. This is the man that I hope to be. Go out and perplex someone else today. Call it art. I know you can do it. I'm Western Toilet. Now get. It's annoying that the end of the year is a time for everyone to give up. Oh, sorry, celebrate the holidays. You can't get anything done because of holiday parties, cold mornings, flu spreadings, and all the celebrities are on vacation. Just kidding. I think it's good. We should have more times of the year when nothing's expected of us. It's too cold out there, so let's just not. Nature wins. What can I do about it? You can be placed in an impossible situation. We're still not there yet, where every obstacle has been eliminated. If you have the means to remove yourself from winter, then by all means do it. The southern resorts need your tourist dollars. It's a whole thing to go on vacation. You keep whole economies turning with your leisure time. But what if it was all leisure time? And what if you didn't have to wait until you were 65 to enjoy it? If you think I'm building to a pitch of an exciting new business opportunity, you're sorely mistaken. I don't have any financial secrets to share. Nobody does. I'm just honest about it. Sure, crypto speculation could make you rich, but more likely, the house always wins. Your vice is very profitable. They all are, I guess. So are your virtues. Wellness crap is expensive. So it's a win-win. For other people, I gotta get in the supplement game. Whatever happened to Lloyd Dobler? Did he ever sell stuff that was bought or buy stuff that was sold? People aren't even named Lloyd anymore. It's too many L's. In the future of the alphabet, Lloyd will be spelled L-O-I-D. So will others. Will it get confusing? I don't care. A little confusion in your life would be good for you. Help you to keep from going soft. It's a great big world out there and everybody has names. You don't have to like them all. Lord knows they're not gonna like you. And we can all share an ice cream and laugh about it. Those of us who aren't lactose intolerant, that is. Those that are inessential to the peace process, so that's okay. All wars are fought on the cheese field, which makes the lactose intolerant among us naturally people of peace. So it is written. You can look it up or ask your friend Jason. That's why he's always farting, trying to go against nature. We don't know how everything works, and that's part of the beauty of the world. We're part of a complex system, and the pieces are too numerous to keep track of. Get comfortable with ambiguity and you'll master the self. But empowering a super intelligent process to make its own choices that we don't understand, that's a dangerous game. We know what motivates a predator mammal. Dinner. It might even be us. But we know that and we can plan accordingly. Solving problems beyond our current acumen? Well, that's the goal. But that's also the journey. A perfect society. Is that what the people of WALL-E thought that they had? No one forced them to get in those chairs. Humanity has designed some spectacular chairs. Although, name a designer beyond Eames. Mr. Lazyboy doesn't count. There is no such boy. It's wonderful to be comfortable. Where are you sitting right now? Is it nice? Would you stay there forever if you didn't have to go to work tomorrow? I wouldn't. As much as I love comfort, I have the drive to get out of my comfort zone, so to speak. That's where the magic actually happens. No magic happens in satisfaction. Why don't they teach AI to wash dishes? That's already become a cliche in certain circles, but they haven't answered it. I think that's because it's really hard. Programming an automated digital being to successfully interact with the physical world is really hard. They just don't have the dexterity to not break all the dishes. Like a willfully incompetent husband, you're just better at it, honey. And do you really want one of those automated auto plant arms in your kitchen? Easier to just 3D print new dishes as the need arises. So why aren't they working on that, huh? Why is 3D printing only for untrackable firearms and experimental pastas? Maybe an artificially intelligent thinking machine can answer that one. Would we accept that if an AI gave us answers about who we are? I don't want that. I don't like it when other humans try to label me. Don't put me in a box. I'm a non-conformist, but I'll do the thing that everybody else is doing. I'm unpredictable. I'm crazy like that. Look at this lampshade, it's on my head, like an alcoholic in a slapstick movie presentation. Could an AI do that? They don't even have a head. Or a lamp. We're not gonna give AI-powered entities the power of ownership, right? That just seems like a terrible idea. What should have been is. That's what the cover of my notebook says. Thanks, notebook. Profundity is all around on our tea bags and Snapple caps. It's the universe's way of telling us to buy more stuff. How do you acquire wisdom without, acquiring? And who put that C in acquiring? These are the mysteries that only a yogi tea can provide answers to.
Stare into the void.
And the void stares back and then sells your location data to a shady broker. They can put together the story of your life by the number of Starbucks you've walked past. There are singles in your area, but don't pick them up. A dollar bill on the sidewalk is always a trap. Or a prank show.
Who glued all these freaking quarters to the floor? I don't have to explain my Archie Warren.
The movies that shaped us don't have to be good. They just need to have spoken to us at a time when we needed to hear it. And the last gasp of record stores is what I needed to hear over and over in the 90s. Mortality and all that. Don't worry. We're not getting into all that today. It's getting into you though. But a thing can just be. We don't have to dwell, like a box of oranges that you're racing to finish before the mold comes. Because once the mold gets won, okay, I lied. We are getting into it.
What's on the internet today? What's on the internet today? What's on the internet today?
But mold comes for us all. Some of it makes antibiotics, a modern medical miracle that we've overused to the point of making them precariously useless. Nothing is sadder than antibiotic resistance. Nothing. So tell your Aunt Hilda to send that copy of Charlotte's Web back to the library. Some pig indeed. Let's pump them full of antibiotics and eat them, and then shut up about it. Where is the threshold for intelligence that we don't want to eat? We're drawing the line at different places from each other, and that's weird. Not all vegetarians do it because they care, but the ones who do care, they're horrified. Listen to a horrified vegetarian today. But what do we do when what we know about plant communication systems becomes popular knowledge? Look up the communicative properties of forests. It's fascinating. Don't even get me started on mushroom networks. We don't have the time. But then I guess we're gonna have to start eating each other. And I, for one, am delicious. Is there enough microplastic in me that you could extract it and make a visible piece of plastic? New product idea just dropped. Bespoke plastic comes from you. It seems a lack of forethought that we, humankind, invented such a versatile material and used it exclusively for disposable objects, but had no plan for where to put it. Garbage dumps seem more plausible when there weren't a lot of people and there wasn't a lot of trash. We'll just put this junk over here all in a pile. That's not a long-term solution that makes sense, even if you think about it a little. No wonder the kids are mad. Our stuff is disposable and not suitable for long-time use, but it doesn't break down well either. Fish are filled with microplastic too. It's in the water, and it doesn't taste good. But should we change anything about anything? Heads in jars, would they be more or less susceptible to plastics contamination? I blame Mrs. Robinson, that foul temptress with ideas for young college boys. Invest in plastics. Don't listen to your parents' friends. That's the real moral of that movie. Does Dustin Hoffman care about the environment? It doesn't matter. We've got celebrities on board and not on board, but they don't actually make change. They make movies. I'd tell you to vote, but, well, it's not a sexy problem, but petroleum. It's not just for soft-focus lenses anymore. Should we all become monks, eschewing all plastics and living an impossible life in a modern world? That does sound nice. Some days. But there's a reason why chucking it all in and going to live in a monastery on a mountain is a fantasy. It's not much fun, and we don't actually want to. I need my MTV. Anti-development or devolution, that's a fantasy too. You can't offer everyone a glimpse of the kitchen of the future and then say they can't have it. Can we design the products of the future with an eye towards what will happen to them at the end of their usefulness? There I go, talking about death again. But our pathological avoidance of our mortality is killing us. Successful health interventions are planned based on reality, not on what we wish was true. And the reality is that milk bottle is going to hold your delicious milk for about a week, and then you'll need it out of your house forever. Museums of the future will only need one to display the decadence of our disposable age. And then what am I supposed to do with all these 998 bottles of milk on the wall? Repeat after me. Decentralized currency is the future of money. The blockchain can hold all of our secrets. Cryptocurrency definitely isn't a speculative scam run by fast talkers looking to make a quick buck. In fact, I believe in crypto so hard that I'm minting a coin called "This is definitely not a pump and dump." I encourage you all to invest. It's a great deal for you and for me. I also encourage you to educate me in the comments to let me know what I've gotten wrong so far. Everyone loves to hear about crypto. Have you called your mom today? She needs to hear how central governments are tyranny, and the only way that we can experience true freedom is through non-fungible tokens. No need to tell your dad. He already knows. In fact, I'm in deep on his coin. World War II is the only war that matters. When the names are all jokes, you know people are taking it seriously. If we can laugh about our money, then that means capitalism is fixed. Fixed rate mortgage, am I right? I guess it would be nice to own a house. Far nicer if shelter was a guaranteed human right, but what do I know? Maybe we could decentralize housing, disrupt real estate. Go squat in an abandoned building today. You're a visionary, and the cops and neighbors will applaud your forward thinking. Definitely everyone will be chill. History shows that all over the world. Being chill is the chillest goal. In fact, that's my new coin, Chill Coin. It comes with an NFT of an AI-generated penguin. No hands to worry about with a penguin. When you have an NFT, you can look at it. Other people can look at it too, but they won't own it, and that's what matters. Ownership. It helps the artists. Am I 5 years late on all this? Yes. That's part of the plan. The hype has died down, so now I can swindle those who haven't been paying attention. Did I say swindle? What a wild thing for me to say. But then again, I'm a wild man. The great thing about ironic detachment is that you can pull the plug and call it a joke at any time. I'm not joking. I'm never joking. but I do have a good sense of humor. Everybody tells me so. I tell stories, brah. My friends are pissing their pants. My friends are llamas. Yeah, watch out for that spit. In fact, that's my new coin, Spitcoin. Get in while the market rewards. If you could just get organized, you slob, everything will fall into place. Which place? Well, that's up to you. I wouldn't presume to know anything about you, because can you ever really know another person? I hope so. The mission's really clear on that. We all mostly want the same thing, a small piece of cheese and a tuffet to eat it on. Little Miss Muffet being the foremost text on tuffets. A good place to sit. That's essential. That's why old people all have the chair. Never sit in an old person's chair. You have to earn your own through feats of wonder. Dan Smith will teach you guitar. If I could just learn one song on guitar, everything else would fall into place. The recording contract, the Maserati, it'll all be mine. And I can drive off into the desert at 185 miles an hour. The desert is a place where the trees underground and the light's about to turn red. If I could just tame this horse, then everything else would fall into place. This internship at the barn is not going well, if I'm honest. I got it because the owner takes the same jazzercise class as my mom. Don't be shocked. This is the way the world works. It's time you knew. But I really know nothing about horses. I think they're plotting against me. I know for a fact that chestnut one is fomenting rebellion. If we could just get this rebellion together, everything else would fall into place. If you could just start your day with a healthy breakfast, everything else will fall into place. If you could just get these goddamn markers to work, everything else would fall into place. The rule of threes, as you know, is an immutable rule of comedy. You know me. I'd never presume to mute. It's not my place. My place is in the stars, driving my Maserati at a reasonable speed. It's enough to know that I could do the Kessel Run so fast that people would use a measure of distance to describe it rather than time. A parsec doesn't matter anyway. Use meters. Stop being afraid of evenly divisible units. The problem is, no matter how long you live in a place with the metric system, you still have to multiply everything by 3/5. Because a 5K being 3.1 miles is the only fact that's ever stuck in your head. Because if I could just get this conversion rate down, everything else will fall into place. A satellite can refer to a natural piece of rock orbiting since the Big Bang or shortly thereafter. Or a man-made object that we launched up there in the past 60 years. You can see them if you know where to look. And from Earth, they look about the same distance away as the stars. They're part of that domain of space, from our perspective. But the stars are actually impossibly far away. And the satellites are just the bare minimum distance away to actually be considered in space. The word space just means space. Obviously, the tautology is hard to hear in your own language. But in another language, you learn the word for vast empty area. And then you learn that same word applies to all of everything else that isn't us, which is mostly nothing. Most of all of it isn't us, and most of all of it is nothing. And we just named it empty nothing. There's wonder to that, but also pragmatism. What's over there? Air? And beyond that, space. Give me space. It's a fact that when confronted with blank nothings, humans don't do well with that. Whether that's the void of space, where distance is measured in light years, or even more manageable distances, like the open ocean, or desert, or ice sheet. When there's nothing to see in any direction, that's what makes us crazy. We need a point of reference, or else we get too upset by the truth of the universe that we are nothing. Douglas Adams knew that without even traveling into space. The greatest punishment in his universe was the perspective machine, powered by fairy lights, which are just Christmas lights if you're not English. Even your own language can shift your perspective if it comes from a different culture. Reading British stuff as an American kid, everything seems so cute and precise. And then we learn that to them, those are just the words. Everyone's a foreigner to someone from somewhere else. But that perspective did not catch on. If there was an alien invasion, would humanity come together for something beautiful? as we take our offered place in a universe where alien civilizations welcome us without violating the Prime Directive? Or would we all just sell each other out for a chance to get some of that cool shit on their ship? Are petty squabbles becoming pettier? On a bad day, I know which one I believe. It doesn't feel like it in the present, but you have to specify the year in your notes. Because sometimes when you come back to them, you won't remember which year it happened. It's cliche, but time does go by so fast. Even if you don't have kids, time seems to accelerate too as you get older, which is why I think old people keep warning young people about it. And young people, in their heedless way, are like, yeah, I know, I get it. Shut up about it, granddad. Growing old is such an indignity, and there's no opting out. I mean, there is an opting out, but it's generally frowned upon. You run the whole race, my boy. Nobody quits. It's not easy. But it's also the easiest thing in the world because it happens without you. Time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking. And you're not actually required to do anything to make that happen. Is that a relief? The Buddhists sure think so. Who injected all this ambition into our lives? Did medieval serfs have ambition? They must have. Maybe they could never be king, but they could grow the best damn field of wheat that the countryside had ever seen. Pride in your work is one thing, but dominating agriculturally? That seems perverse and American. It's fun to describe things as American as an insult. It makes you sound so snobby and above it all. It's so French. Europeans are so scandalized. It's hard not to think that we're in some kind of cosmic sitcom where America is the loudest roommate and Europe is the prissy one. Sorry, rest of the world. You're supporting players at best. In 9th grade history, we learned the word ethnocentrism as if it applied to only people of the past. Would we even be able to make that movie today? You tell me. How often do you write letters hectoring your local school board? And do your kids even go to this school? The lens we use to examine the world around us has a powerful effect. That's why glasses were invented so early on. We need them to see, and we got all this glass laying around. I wonder if there were any artists who experimented with the wrong prescription glasses in order to get a better perspective on the world. The same way they experimented with cut-ups, automatic writing, seances, or drugs. It's thought that El Greco had astigmatism. That's why his guys are so lanky. But maybe he just knew a lot of tall people. Did you ever think of that? You are going to leave behind so many notebooks of writing. I'm Western Toilet. Do you keep it all? Who knows when it'll be useful? The worst is when you've thrown something out and you need it 6 months later. Keep every slip of paper that the police give you. The less consequential it looks, the more important it might turn out to be. But who makes the decision? Hoarding is the lack of making a decision. Keep it all. That makes things equally impossible to find. It's crazy to need admin to run your own life. There must have been a time when you didn't. Not childhood, like the Renaissance. If you were an important thinker, maybe you needed an amanuensis to help you keep track of your important thoughts. But when in history did we have to start proving who we were and asserting our right to exist in time and space? That should be an ingrained human right. I do exist, so why should that be a problem? What are you gonna do about it, huh? Send me away? That's the humane solution, which is really not all that humane. My life is here. And my stuff. It's pretty disruptive to remove me from it at your behest. It's upsetting enough to move voluntarily. There are never enough boxes, and where do they come from anyway? Where do they all go? The life cycle of a cardboard box is strange and mysterious. The solution, of course, is to have less stuff. And I'd like to, but I'm not allowed to throw out any of this paperwork. And if I have to have all this paperwork, I'm keeping all the books. There has to be a little something for me. It can't all be functional. I am functional, and that's depressing. What are we doing it all for? To not cause problems for some other flunky? Because it's the easiest, most boring thing you could do. Make yourself small, and maybe no one will notice you, or bother you. What a terrible goal to make it through life without causing a fuss. I'm not here to make it easy for you. I'm not even here to make it easy for me. Easy is death. Hard is interesting. Except for eggs. No one wants their eggs over hard. Except for this one waitress in Chicago who bullied everyone into breakfast choices they didn't want. She just kept saying, "Trust your waitress." You could even hear her saying it to other tables. No one liked what she eventually brought them. but I'll remember her for the rest of my days, and her words will echo on throughout time. Trust your waitress, and the lesson is, trust nobody. Sleep is a biological process that we just can't get around. I'm Western Toilet. And yet, many of us would like to do away with it altogether. There's a real shot at greatness if you need less sleep than others. Da Vinci invented Mona Lisa and flying machines because he only needed 4 hours of sleep per night. The fact that those flying machines remain solidly on the ground is besides the point. Actually, those flying machines kind of sound like a Coke binge. Okay, we'll put a guy in the middle, and pedal and pedal and pedal, and the top that'll go up and down, and then blammo, the first helicopter. Why isn't it working? Okay, I'll just go write up a diary backwards. Ideas that don't work are as valuable to the human knowledge base as ideas that do. How many bad ideas have you had today? I've had 12. Keep it up. I have an idea for a room made entirely of terry cloth. It's an antechamber to your shower. I guess the shower wouldn't be in the bathroom anymore. Which, then would you even be able to call it the bathroom? You'd have to call it the toilet, like a Brit. Move fast, break things, and cover them in soft fabrics. That's my motto. We're definitely not at perfect yet. There's a lot of room for improvement, that's for sure. But what does ideal living look like? Maximum comfort? But according to the program, a certain amount of struggle is necessary for true optimization. Will we create true comfort for the masses while the creators struggle in a forced state of optimization to keep their minds sharp and hungry? Oh no. Who would envy who in that scenario? And who would supply my adolescent plasma? A third class of genetic spare parts like Gattaca? That's the movie where genetic perfection was achieved by organ farming your twin, right? Or is that idea up for grabs? Don't take that one, it's mine. Honestly, a life where every need is provided for sounds a little boring. And that's why I took the one less carpeted by. And that has made all the difference. They say Robert Frost was a cynic, but does that matter? All poetry sounds schmaltzy, if you read it right. Or wrong, I guess. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village, though, because he's dead. Or I'm dead? Someone's dead. Here's an AP English tip for you. All the poems? Someone's dead. Maybe it's you. I could not stop and wait for death, so death kindly stopped for me. The long now was super hyped when it was first introduced, and I want to say, the 90s? I'm Western Toilet. But then it was almost immediately forgotten, which is pretty ironic. The long now is a clock, an idea, and a series of bets to help humanity reframe time away from the immediate micro-moment and ask us to think about units of time beyond our own lifespan, which is a big ask, and they introduced it at precisely the moment that society was redefining time as the space between like notifications. Speaking of, like this video, please. I'm stuck in stasis until you hit that thumbs up button. Time that unfolds while we're alive is easy for us to access. But the most important stories unfold over decades, lifetimes, millennia. Have you heard that story about designing signage for nuclear waste sites? It's fascinating. How can you communicate a message to a future society when there's no guarantee that we'll share any kind of languages or references, or even the concept of nuclear tragedy? If the worst does happen, we still need to be able to signal, hey, don't plant crops here, it'll kill everyone. Well, in the spirit of questioning all assumptions, we don't need to, but it's the right thing to do if we want any kind of civilization to continue. Or else, what was it all for? Those long days, toiling on our masterworks, eating all those bugs in the jungle for those cameras. Legacy means different things to different people, and living for the people who are here now is an entirely valid choice. Do you think the now anonymous authors of Beowulf would be excited or dismayed by the number of college freshmen who've been tortured by their work? Work means to be in conversation with the time it's in, to entertain the author's friends and family, that it sometimes takes on an extra significance, as an example of how things were, in a historically valuable sense. Well, that's just a bonus. Sometimes we give writers and artists the designation of before their time because they see something coming that'll take the rest of us decades to notice. But in some cases, that's just as good as obscurity. Who's going to preserve this work that nobody wants now until somebody does want it? Who's going to dig through our past to find an overlooked gem? Especially as people are just publishing more and more every day. Someone recently figured out there was more music released in 1 week in 2024 than all of 1987. Well, we better quit our jobs and get listening. Nothing of value is buried here. This is not a sacred site. No highly esteemed dead is commemorated here. What is here is dangerous and repulsive to us. I'm wary about outsourcing my executive function because I'm worried I won't get it back. I'm Western Toilet. There, I've said it. Now, who has answers? There's a vast legacy of experimentation in human history, and that's how we've gotten where we are. Frankenstein's monster wasn't a raving success. A failure is a result. But what are we doing with all this data? Seems to me that we're ignoring it with the hopes that someone smarter will come along and know what to do with it. Stop waiting for someone smarter. You're the smartest person you are. The answer is here, among the alphabets. You'll just have to make your own murder board, and then you'll see. Forgive the violence of my language. I didn't name it, but I said it, and I stand by it. No home is complete without a corkboard and some push pins. Mine sits under a window in my home gym/home office. I never did figure out how to hang anything on the wall, but that's on me. I own that. I also own an old whiteboard. The whiteboard comes with its own stand, so it's less of a problem. The issue there is ghosting, but we're having a seance later, so that should work itself out. When people started to write stuff down, I'm sure there were curmudgeons who decried the loss of the skill of memorization. The kids aren't building memory palaces like they used to, and all the bards lost work to a stack of paper. So they pivoted to become actors, and society has never recovered. So you can see my concern. On the other hand, no one is bemoaning glasses. They just so clearly work. It's not like eyes need mental toughness. We accept that, and we just laugh about 4 eyes behind her back. She'll never get a date for the prom until she learns to accept being semi-blind. And then, ironically, she's gorgeous. Kiss me under the milky twilight. But forgive me if I don't want to be a guinea pig for a massive reordering of the human mind. It's a cop-out to say it, but if we paid people what they're worth, compensated people for the work we stole, tested for all the safety contingencies, we wouldn't be able to afford to make it. Okay, here's $1 billion. And my mental well-being. The habits that we forget, well, they don't haunt us because we forgot them. I'm Western Toilet. But they are our failures of optimization. You could argue that if we left them behind, maybe they weren't serving us. But that presupposes that we're not broken and wrong. And if only we gamified our habit creation, we'd do all the things and get enough exercise. But you do realize that using an RPG-themed habit tracker isn't the same as playing an actual RPG, right? You're no fool. You want your RPG. Why aren't we better? It's not bad to strive, right? It's not bad to have goals, but are they my goals? Or is someone else planting and then exploiting that insecurity to sell me colloidal mercury so that even when I'm peeing, I'm optimizing? Goods can make changes to our whole society. Deodorant is purely a need invented by deodorant people. But can you imagine living without it? Occasionally people do. And if they mention it, we categorize them as a dirty hippie. Phones are worming their way into our pockets as a must-have. Are worming? Have wormed. Even kids have phones these days. For emergencies. But have you ever thought about if you need a phone, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters? They're not real. The answer could be yes, by the way. No judgment here. But did you decide you need a phone? Or did Boost Mobile? What does talking to people get anyone anyway? Except the exchange of ideas and the feeling of community and camaraderie. And 24/7 access to a curated feed of our best frenemies' best lives that make us feel awful about ourselves. I better get those supplements so I can drink more water and reach my true potential and finally emerge from this aging chrysalis to show the world my true form. What if my true form is like a Final Fantasy final boss, with wings and extra legs, and the ability to cast Meteor? That spell is devastating. Humanity would never survive. It's up to me then, and you, to keep it contained and stop buying self-improvement products, being hawked by a disgruntled man from his basement. If having a compost toilet fixes everything, what's he so mad about? It's not that hard to figure out when somebody's trying to sell you something. That's on you. Go to my Patreon. Gravity, it's not just a good idea, it's the law for now. I'm Western Toilet. As we all know, the physical constants, being what they are what enabled life to develop in this neck of the universal woods. But are they mess withable after the fact? They can't all be existential threats, but it does kind of seem like this one would be. The way I see it going down is at first anti-gravity is a novelty that you pay to experience as a luxury outing, but then some asshole company would claim it as their own resource. And then we'd all have a gravity bill to pay every month under threat of having all your stuff fly off into the heavens for non-payment. The predictable people would grumble about equity and leaving people out, and the people in power would ignore them like they always do, and talk a big game about innovation moving the country forward. Which country? Does it matter? So basically, your whole life will be held under friendly ransom by the gravity companies, and eventually we'd all get used to it. And people would accept it as the way we've always done things, until a band of radicals comes along and does some kind of direct action, putting the localized gravity generators at risk. Some will hail them as folk heroes, but the mainstream opinion will be that they're criminals for expecting the natural world to be free for all to experience. And how dare they want things to be different? Won't someone think of the prophets? Never mind that studies will show people are long-term more productive for society when they have stable access to free-flowing gravity and other universal concepts. Because watch out, Planck's constant. They're coming for you next. But those are just normal people. They don't have any shareholders, so no one argues their side. Is this the specter of what will be or what might be? It's hard to say. Calvinism would say your destiny is preordained, and nothing that you'll do in the present moment will change what's supposed to happen. But Bill Watterson retired. He doesn't get to drive the conversation any longer. Slap that sticker of Calvin peeing on your truck window and accept the fact that only you can prevent the future. Thank you for coming. Take a donut on your way out. I know you're all waiting for it. The unified theory of what Western Toilet finds funny. I'm Western Toilet. It's dead drops. They get me every time. What gets you might be different. Start your own channel and tell the world there's a song in your heart. Let it out. Most creative people think everyone's creative. We just get trained out of it in adolescence. That wonderful time when we traverse the corridor between childhood and adulthood and want to rip off everyone's head in the process. Stop looking at me. I'm so ugly. Also, Becky said she saw you picking a wedgie in third period. How dare you have a butt? Come here, I'll punch you. There's a theory that babies cry all the time because growing hurts. We have a strange bias that nature is the ultimate state, and everything else is a departure from our perfect Eden. Where'd you get that apple, Eve? But so much of the human experience is awful. Pain is our teacher, and we're decaying from the moment that we're born. The real miracle is that we've made something wonderful out of this mess. We've had to, because boredom is the literal worst. I don't care, cut off my pinky toe. Just don't make me sit alone with my thoughts. These are my thoughts. We invented games pretty fast, and storytelling and art, because, as I said earlier, we all have a song in our heart. We don't have a Wall Street portfolio in our heart. Though if we had one in the bank, maybe we could find more songs in our heart. Glasses were also invented pretty early on, because if you can't see, it's hard to do anything else, especially if you hadn't invented sidewalks yet. Maybe your song is an invention. We're like 2 generations out from the gentleman inventor, like that guy who moves his whole family out to California so he doesn't have to pay heat for the winter. And he just spends his whole day tinkering. The 7 kids, because he's always got a shitload of kids. They either go to school or they don't. He's kind of unschooling them, decades before that was a thing. It's just good old 70s style parental neglect. But he's really good with his hands. And in his garage alone, he created the bacon wave. You're welcome, humanity.